actually helped launch a multi-market campaign that achieved a reach in excess of 30 million individuals. Peter, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for a great introduction. My name is Peter van Reekom, and I am a corporate sales manager within Quantcast. I am Dutch, so I might sound a little bit Irish because I do live in Ireland. And you might be thinking, hey, what's this Dutch guy doing on an AIB event in Canada? Well, I am very international. I do speak 5 languages. And more importantly, I'm a huge gamer. And I love everything that has to do with games. Might actually make my girlfriend crazy sometimes. But and also on top of that, Quantcast and I work with many big gaming companies with the likes of like Microsoft, Square Enix in regards to Final Fantasy IV, Behavior Interactive, and Bethesda as a couple of examples that I can name. Now, today I'd like to walk you to about 3 different topics that we'd like to show you. First, I'd like to show you the Canada gamer landscape and dive a little bit deeper in the female gamer. Then I'd like to talk to you a little bit about like the Dead by Daylight launch case study that we had in June, and then what is next in the gaming space that we're going to focus on. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what do we know about the Canadian gamers? So Quantcast is known for having a lot of, or a vast majority of the first-party data collected from our publishing partners all across the globe, and it's all live data. So we tend to have a lot of insights into what audiences look like and how they change throughout the years, or throughout the months even. So what do we know about the Canadian gamers? So in 2020, around 23 million Canadians actually played video games. Now, in fairness, I didn't know what the population was of Canada, so I had to look that up. It's 38 million, so that's actually more than half of the Canadians actually played games in 2020, which is a lot. And then diving a little bit deeper is, you see 44% of the Canadian gamers are actually women in 2021, which shows the tendency in gamers becoming women becoming more gamers in the future as well. 41% of the Canadian gamers actually have children in the household in 2021, and 24% of Canadian gamers are between the age of 21 and 29. Now, that last stat isn't really that interesting in my opinion. Yeah, sorry, no, previous slide, please. Yeah, we're still on this one. So 24% of Canadian gamers are between the age of 21 and 29. That's actually not such a surprising stat. But what was a surprising stat that we had is 11% of gamers are actually baby boomers. So, we're saying that we're always focusing on the younger generation, or we should be focusing on the younger generation when it comes to this. But I do believe that the older generation is also, a big part of the gaming society. I mean, when I grew up, I remember sitting in my dad's lap playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein and being afraid of the Hitler poster on the wall. So, and that was my dad, and he still plays games to this day. So, and then the final stat that I can share is the total revenue from gaming in 2021 in Canada will be around $1.8 billion. So that's a lot of money. Next slide, please. So yeah, next what I want to show you, or want to talk about a little bit more, is the dive deeper into the what does the female gamer look like. Next slide, please. Thank you. So most companies do tend to focus on the male gamer. However, the female gamer does exist, and she's growing. They're coming to town, and they're growing in size. So what does she look like? Again, looking at the Quantcast data, they have a strong skew towards being a millennial. The majority has no kids, which makes sense to a certain extent, and they don't really have a higher education. So let's ask ourselves the question: what happened? Why do women game more? Next slide, please. Thank you. So COVID really accelerated everything when it comes to gaming. Let's look at it ourselves. I mean, we were locked down. We were in lockdown. What are you going to do? Some people picked up board games. I did as well a little bit, I'll be honest with you. What else did we do? People picked up painting, but a lot of people picked up gaming. And even my girlfriend started playing Omno on PC, which is a strategy puzzle game. I highly advise that. It's actually on my to-do list as well. But we also noticed a big shift during the pandemic from mobile games, which is traditionally more known as being a more casual type of game, towards consoles and PCs. Now, but what consoles do women prefer? Next slide, please. Looking at the Quantcast data, we see that women have a tendency to have a higher affinity with PlayStation. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it isn't. But let's look at the current, most of the women that are starting the game, they're emerging consumers. So there's a big opportunity for Xbox and both PlayStation to change the mindset and change their perception about both of those brands. So I would advise getting on there and, you know, trying to change that perception, Xbox or Microsoft, sorry, depending how you look at it. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah. So looking deeper into the Quantcast data, we see that the female gamer is trying to out more genres of types of games. You see action, you see RPG, you see MMO type of games, which are traditionally more male-dominated genres. And some of the top branded keywords that we've seen in our data are Final Fantasy, which is of course one of the biggest MMORPGs that that exist. Metroid, more of an arcade game. Monster Hunter, that, you know, does what it says on the tin. Starfield, the new release by Bethesda, and Horizon Forbidden West, which of course features the character that is the main character is actually female. So it's very interesting to see that. Yeah, next slide, please. So now I'd like to show you a little bit more and dive deeper into the case study from Dead by Daylight, that a campaign that we've run in 2021. Next slide, please. So first of all, what is Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight is actually a survival horror game released in 2006. So, you know, it's already 5 to 6, almost 6 years old. And in June last year, they launched a new chapter with a new protagonist, which you can see on the screen right now, in combination with Resident Evil. Unfortunately, I can't share all the data from the campaign. However, this story will give you a good overview of what we've done during that campaign. So we actually work with the agency called Attract Mode in Germany to fulfill a good amount of the goals that the advertiser gave us. And we'll show you those goals. Next slide, please. So what were those goals? So we were supposed to recruit and win back new players, increase the awareness of Dead by Daylight and Resident Evil overall, and attribute $15 million in revenue of that period of that campaign. So how do we go about this? Next slide, please. Thank you. So we use the Quantcast platform essentially. So because of our vast amount of first-party live data that we have of everyone across the globe, all the behavioral data that people, all the behaviors that people do on the open internet, we actually profiled and sized 3 different key audiences for this specific campaign. And so something that we can help any client with. So I can imagine that a lot of the clients that you guys work with are looking for their audience on the open internet, and we can help you find those audiences, and it will all update in real time, and you can target those audiences as well. So the 3 different audiences that we sized and profiled were the lapsed players, so the players that have played the game in the past but had to be reactivated, so the frequency would be lower than, for example, the dark multiplayer, which is the second audience that we profiled, because those are the players that haven't been introduced to Dead by Daylight yet, but are playing other types of games, like the Call of Duties or horror type of games. And then finally, an audience that was ready to play. So those are the audience that are ready to purchase and start playing the game because their behavior is showing that they're looking are interested in playing that specific game. Now, this campaign was a mix between branding and performance with a combination of display, rich media, and video. So now I think the most important question is, what were the results? Next slide, please. The outcomes, or, you know, as a gamer, I'd like to use the word dilute. I think the headlines speak for themselves. It was the biggest year for Dead by Daylight since the launch in 2016. We had a peak of more than 100,000 live players during the campaign on Steam, which is an amazing result. And I think one of the key parts that I'm quite proud of is that we found a way to measure and attribute the sales on both consoles, on all consoles, and PC. So these are great results that, you know, I'm extremely proud of, and, you know, getting an 88 conversion share. So we've touched 88% of the conversions that happened during that specific campaign, is something that I'm extremely proud of, and, you know, I'm proud of the team as well. But, you know, I think the question arises is, what's next? Next slide, please. So I think everyone knows right now there's lots happening in the space, and one of the things, Microsoft buying Blizzard this week is something that I can only get excited about because I am a big World of Warcraft fan, and I actually have to drop off in a bit because I actually have to raid. I'm not kidding, and. So that's one of the things that's happening in the space, but also the increase of in-game NFTs is very important and it's big in the space. But the thing that we will focus on within Quantcast is we notice that gamers and gamblers actually over-index into deleting their or blocking their cookies. A lot of my friends that I game or raid with, they say like, yeah, Peter, I have an ad blocker on or anything like that. So they are tech savvy, right? I mean, people that tend to game more know more about technology. And so the challenge for that future is how do we measure that audience and how do we target that audience? But also when the cookie deprecates, how do we measure and target that audience? Next slide, please. So Quantcast has actually launched a cookieless solution. Now, what does that do? We use our unique first-party data in combination with ARA, which is our machine learning engine, to find those target and measure those audience without the third-party cookies. It's only first-party cookie and first-party data based out of the Quantcast technology. Now, as you probably know, about 49% of the open web is dominated by the Chrome browser, but the other half, 51%, is dominated by Safari and the rest. So we can't really measure anything right now without a third-party cookie. However, with the Quantcast solution, you can. So it opens up. So what are the benefits? It actually opens up half of the open web, and so it significantly increased your reach. So you just found half of the internet where you can also target that audience that we just defined in a couple of slides ago. It allows you to achieve more of efficient viewability and an effective frequency. It allows you to get lower CPMs. Now, why would you get lower CPMs for that inventory? It's because no other DSP or no other partner can actually understands the value of that inventory. So they're not bidding on it. Well, Quantcast knows the value of that inventory. We're bidding on it and we're getting it on for a cheaper availability. And finally, you get a truer understanding of your audience, because if you just understand your audience on Chrome, that's not the full visibility of that audience. They're spending time on different browsers as well. And that's where we give you the full essence of that. So yeah, to summarize, Quantcast is actually ready for the future. Are you? Yeah, next slide, please. And that was the summary of what I wanted to tell you guys. I hope you all find it interesting. And if you have any questions and if you want to have a chat with me or want to have a chat with my colleagues in Canada, because I am based in a different time zone, that's fine as well. Please feel free to reach out. Are there any questions, any Q&A?
Hey, Peter. So we actually did get a few questions from the audience here today. So maybe the first one that we'll pose is just around how do you attribute the console installs to the campaign itself, and what tracking tools were utilized. I think an extremely relevant and legitimate question that has great merit.
No, that's good. We use one of the attribution partners that we partner with. It's called GameSight. I don't want to get into a whole long attribution conversation because I think that's gonna take more than the 3 minutes that we have. But I highly advise reaching out to either me or the colleagues from in Canada to have that discussion, because the way they measure, they tag up all the creatives, and it allows them to measure the conversions in both consoles and PC, which allows us to have a better view of what partner has what influence on the end result, essentially. So yeah, just reach out to me or one of my colleagues and we'll have a longer chat about that. No problem.
Awesome, Peter. We were also seeing some questions around your perspective on trends that you believe may be here to stay. Personally interested on that, but certainly some merit in some of that as well. So is there anything that you're seeing here, Peter, that you think will have some true staying power?
Yes, the world's changing so fast. I mean, I do believe that women will continue the game, and I think they will only grow, and I think we'll go more to a 50-50 split in the future as well, especially because everyone is becoming more tech savvy in the future. And yeah, so that's one of the things that I think will stay. I think the world unfortunately will be, and I say this from a gaming perspective, will be more dominated by NFTs and microtransactions, which I'm not a huge fan of. If I look at, for example, an example like Epic Games, the way they monetize Fortnite is, in my opinion, the right way to go. I think the balance should be to, yes, we should be profitable as a gaming company, but it's all around the players as well. If your players aren't happy and they leave, you won't get any monetization whatsoever. So I think the balance of that is continued growth in the future. And I think that hopefully with Fortnite showing the right way to go is what's going to happen with a lot of also mobile games, but any other game on any console out there. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And we may have time for just one more question here, Peter. So
Yeah.
there was some intrigue around the quote unquote boomer audience, specifically around platforms and also titles that that audience cohort is engaging in. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I can get you that insight. I don't have it at hand right now, but we can work together. If they reach out to me or my colleagues in Canada, we can work together and get that audience and research that audience and get the insights into that audience, what type of platforms they're using, what type of titles they're using or what are interested in. And yeah, we can definitely share that if they reach out to us. No, non issue whatsoever.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Fantastic insights and, great case study that you've shared with us. I particularly love the fact that it was both brand and performance centric. So kudos to yourself and to the broader Quantcast team. So moving on to our next session, we're actually going to open up to our panel. So today our panel brings together Amy Vernier, the VP of Gaming and Sports at Fandom, Krish Lombardi, who's the president and co-founder of Apex Mobile, Robert Rames, who's an account director and brand partnerships at Enthusiast Gaming. And this session will actually be moderated by Kareem Kanji, a director at Active International, and it will dig into engaging gaming fans and obviously significantly more through the questions. So Kareem, with that, I'll